Welcome to Let's Write This Movie, where we write a screenplay
while sharing the process with the internet.
I am your screenwriter, René Garcia.
And I'm your collaborator, Brian Glass.
Now, let's write this movie. Hello, Brian.
Hey, how you doing, man?
I'm a little frustrated, but that's fine. What are you going to do? My life is frustration. But at least we have duplex again. Full duplex. Yeah, look at that. We can talk over each other. We can laugh, make noises. Yeah.
That's all I got.
What's happened? What was that?
Noise.
Nice. All right. So, what are we talking about today, Brian?
Well, I think we're talking about Let's Write This Movie and potential changes to the script to get it down to 90 pages.
Yes. Okay, so a couple of thoughts here. First, however this project started, what was it, last year? More than last year?
It was 18.
Yeah, I think it was end of 18. I think you're absolutely right. However, this all started, I am now pretty mercenary about what we're doing, right? Like, I think, before it was just to get me back into writing screenplays because I just lost the desire, right? To write. Like, I just had other things that I wanted to do. Yeah, I mean, it's hard to explain when you are a creative who loses the desire to be a creative or to create. It's probably like a depressing thing to see, but as the person going through that experience, you probably don't care. I know I didn't care. I didn't miss it, right?
As someone who was watching it happen, though, it was a little bit depressing to see, which is why I believe I was pushing for us to get and do, to start this show and push you along to move into writing some new stuff.
Yeah. Well, look, I mean, I appreciate it. And I'm glad you, I know you expressed some trepidation of being, of actually doing this show. And I'm glad, you stepped out of your comfort zone and helped me through this.
Yeah.
Okay. So with all of that said, last time it was kind of like a labor of love to a degree. I mean, it was an idea I've had in my mind for a long time, Epitaph, and to finally have something to draw it out of me and bring it into the world, that was great. And I'm glad we did this because now it's out there. Okay, so with all of that said, now seeing how well the script has performed, meaning it's a finalist in 2 back-to-back screenplay competitions. Obviously, there's something there, right? And it would be a shame for me to prevent it from actually possibly, right, opening up doors for me because I was too in love with what I'd created, right? So I've over the last year, I've kind of adjusted my mindset and I've become very mercenary about what we're doing, right? Like I need to treat this as almost like a job or as like as an entrepreneur, right? That I'm investing my time and energy into creating these things in order to achieve a greater goal, right? And these are I don't know what I'm trying to say here. I don't want to say that I'm totally devoid of emotion or connection to these things, but I need to see them as things I'm offering a customer and what the customer wants rather than what I want. Or maybe I need to be able to compromise with the customer. And the customer is a producer, right?
Or the judges.
Or the judges. Absolutely, right? And who knows, if it gets picked up by an actual production company, maybe it does come back to the thing I originally wanted. Right. But we'll never know unless I can appease the judges. So, with all of that said, very mercenary now. And as we discussed in the last episode, we talked about chopping down the near 120-page script of Epitaph down to 90. And I was actually working on it. And I don't think that it's possible without doing a complete rewrite. And what I mean by that is, it's not so much that I am rewriting certain pages so that things get compressed or whatever, which is what I started to do, but it is, the structure of the script is such a way that you can't just remove a chunk or even a character, or enough characters, or absorb enough characters, whatever, and still have the structure stand, right? Like, it has to be restructured entirely. And so that means, to me, as I was doing going through the process, I have to rewrite the entire screenplay so that it works.
Yeah.
And that's not, I don't know how you and I do that again, like do that together for this show, right? Like, it would almost have to be something like, here's 10 pages a day again. You know what I mean? And I don't know that makes sense. So I feel like this restructuring is going to have to be a solo endeavor. So what does that mean for this show that we're, that tens of people are ostensibly watching? Well, we still need something else to, to work on. So the other script that I think, it's also long, it's 120 pages or so, but I think there's a lot, like, we can, I think, compress down to 90, right? I think we can do it. Is my rom-com drom-com.
Okay.
Right? Called Corina. And I know this is a favorite of Brian's, and I think it would be nice, I would be able to get a lot of good input from Brian on this project. So what I'm getting at is, we'll work on the Corina script for this show while I'm also restructuring, like going through the very slow process of restructuring Epitaph. So with that said, there is an upcoming screenplay competition on Stage 32, and I'm just going to switch to that. It is the 6th annual comedy writing contest, and it's in February. Where is my... Oh, there we are. It's in February. Let me see if I can get down to deadlines here. A lot of judges. Okay, yeah, here we are. So, final deadline's February 10. And I think we can get Corina, like, that's essentially 2 months. Well, oh my God, that's a month. A month and change. I think we can get Corina compressed in time for that. What do you think, Brian?
Tell me the date again, because the one I'm looking at has a Wednesday, December 30th screen here.
Yes. So you're looking at the early bird deadline, but the final deadline is Wednesday, February 10. If you scroll all the way to the bottom.
Okay. I see it now. Is it possible? Yeah, it's possible.
4 shows. That's 4 shows for us, basically.
It's quite a bit of to handle every week, but we can do it. I don't know if we're going to be doing any of the performative aspects as before. I don't think we have time to talk about changes and, perform 30 pages or 20 something pages each time.
Damn.
Unless you want to do the auxiliary show, the after show, where you're performing every role.
The after show? What's the after show? I'm just reading by the fire. Masterpiece screenplay reading. Screenplay reading.
Yeah, it could be done. It's going to be hard. I don't see a problem on my end, but I'm not doing the rewrite. So,
Well, look, I mean, the rewrite part is, I think, minimal, right? Like, I think it's just a compression. And I think there's a lot of stuff. Because, look, it's mostly dialogue. And this is where we can cut out whole scenes, right?
yeah, I can already to cut out.
That's what I mean, you know? Like, certain musical numbers don't have to be completely scripted out like they are.
Sure.
That's like 10 pages right there. Boom.
Brian can be less developed.
Yeah, there doesn't need to be a Brian character. Guy. No, we need the Brian character. Come on.
Yeah, he's there, but I'm saying his what's going on with him isn't as important.
No, it is because the whole thing is about relationships and like the different relationships that are happening in Danny's life, right?
I get it.
Of course you get it. It's necessary. It's the heart. It's the heart of the screenplay.
It's 120 pages.
Well, once again, there are 2 long musical numbers that are at least, let's say, 5 pages each. And I think that's being conservative, right? Like, there's the shower one, and then there's the one at the end.
Are they really that long?
Well, they're long because it's freaking lyrics. I mean, if let's say they're both 5 pages each, and like I said, that's conservative, that's 10 pages gone. Boom.
Okay.
And then we can just cut some of the little, like, funny dialogue parts out.
Yeah.
Danny doesn't have to give Brian dating advice, or, I mean, singlehood advice, right?
Yeah.
There doesn't have to be a lot, I can cut out a couple of the, head shaking things from Rolling Stone.
Maybe
right?
one. Yeah, I know, but you're setting up the joke there. You're setting everything
I
up.
know! It's all, like, it's all based,
When I hear you just cut out, 30 pages.
Yeah, you just cut off your arm. It's like, yeah, that's what we're talking about, right?
Could. I guess I could. But I still, I don't know. I guess we'll find out. I guess we'll know within 6 weeks or 5.5 weeks.
Or maybe Danny doesn't have to give the Notebook speech in the beginning. That can go. See, look at you, unwilling to kill your darlings, my
Go ahead.
darlings.
Cut out the shower. Cut it all out, Renee.
Yeah, exactly.
It's really more about.
I have a screenplay. Just turn in a title page.
Man, this guy writes, crisp.
Yeah, minimal.
One word.
Love it. He just leaves it to your imagination.
That's right.
All right. So anyway, I think that's the plan. Wow. I mean, so we're going to really, really compress the amount of time we work on this. I mean, if we're talking about, like, how do you want to break it up? We have essentially a month, right? Like, yeah. I don't think it makes sense to say, hey, let's do the first 25 pages that we compress. I think we go through the entire script separately, right? Like, do you think that is too much work for 1 week?
No.
Okay. I think we do it this way. We look at the entire script for 1 week, and we highlight the parts that we think can just go, like, just cut it out, and the script will still be intact, right? It just won't be as flavorful.
We'll see where we have crossover, and those will be the high candidates to be axed.
Crossover, what does that mean?
You and I both have highlighted this.
Yeah. Well, you know what? Here's the thing. Maybe we don't say. Okay. Let's achieve 2 things. One, whole scenes that can be cut out entirely. Okay. Or scenes that can be compressed severely. Like, sometimes the character has to go to a place because he needs to go to another place after that first place. But maybe in the first place, he doesn't have to have the long conversation he has with a person there or whatever. So maybe we can just say, okay, we don't cut out the scene entirely, but we can cut out 90% of that scene just because we need to keep the bones in the body.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, good. I just don't want to limit us.
No, I understand.
Okay. So that'll be week 1. And then, as you said, whatever we agree on immediately, we'll just remove those. And I think week 2 will be compression. Characters can get absorbed. Dialogue can be reduced.
Yeah.
Uh,
It's really going to depend on how we do in week 1. If we come out.
Oh, yeah.
Cover 20 pages, we've cut already somehow. Then I think our task is going to be pretty easy to get that final 10 pages out.
Yep.
But if we come back and say, well, I got 2 pages, we've got a problem.
Well, dude, I mean,
one of us says, I've got 2 pages. The other one says I got 20. Maybe we're not reading the same script.
No, you're absolutely right. That is a concern, but I don't think it's going to be that way. Like I said, I'm not, if you said, hey, let's do this circa 2010, 2011, I would have been like, fuck. Oh, sorry. Are we swearing? Do we swear? I don't think we swear on the show, do we?
You do apparently, but we don't.
Oh, wait. We kind of swear in the script, right?
No, it's got to be fun.
Exactly. What if I have to read something in the script as a character? So we swear, right?
I will not swear. Good boy.
Okay. Screw that, Brian.
Yeah.
But now it's like, whatever. My dreams have been crushed. So that's when you can destroy your art.
I'm really trying hard to refrain from saying, art,
What?
commerce together.
There you go. Yes.
Did you say it anyway?
Precisely. Art and commerce. Okay, so that would be week 2 is compression. And assuming we cut out, like I said, if we're cutting out like the musical numbers, the explicitness of them, we're gonna be way ahead here. As far as having a lot of room.
The only thing I'm thinking about, typically when you have a musical number, it's expressing something that the character won't say directly, but is feeling.
Yeah.
Are we going to have that issue? It's been a while since I've read this, so are we going to have where something is there's something missing as a result of removing the songs?
No, see, this is why I brought up the we'll still have. Don't get me wrong, we're still going to have the musical numbers if we can keep them. It's just not going to have the lyrics. It'll just be, "Don't Stop Me Now" from Queen plays, and describing the setup, right? As Danny is singing in the shower on his end, he doesn't realize that Karina and I can't even remember her friend's name anymore. Can hear him on the other side, and it's funny, right? And it's funny.
Okay. Well, we can definitely curtail that. I just didn't remember them being that long, so it'll be interesting to go back and rehash these.
Dude, it's you try writing out the lyrics of a song. It goes on forever. And then not only that, it's not like you're just writing the lyrics. That'd be one thing. But you're writing the action in between. And then you got to put in the slugs, from like, where are we now? Oh, we're in the, Danny's room. We're in Karina's room. I was hoping I could remember her friend's name, like as I'm talking. Like It's just going to come out because some lizard brain thing will just like pop it out. It's not happening, sadly.
And it's a fairly small cast, if I remember. So you should really remember that. Shade.
Dude. Well, when you lose the love for it, Brian, it doesn't exist anymore. Damn it. Getting old, bro. Getting old. Okay. So that's second week. Third week would be what? Just me polishing?
Too early to say. honestly, we're not going to know exactly how week 2 is going to go until week 1 is done, because we could be in great shape, or we could be scrambling at that point to, like, how are we going to possibly hit a February 10th deadline, with a
Okay.
paid. So
Okay. Well, that's fair.
I think we just have to commit to, if we're going to commit to the date of February 10th, and we commit to next week meeting and, going through with our first pass at what's going to be either chopped or compressed, as you say, then whatever it takes, in that month that remains.
All right. 90 pages it is.
An extra show somewhere in there.
Yeah.
see.
I mean, look, if we have to, I'm totally happy to jump in like midweek or whatever and just be like, hey, emergency meeting or something.
Right.
I mean, what I would really love to do is if we get to the end of this, and we feel like, oh, it's 90 pages, cool. If we have another episode that we can do before submission, we do a read through, 90-page read through. No, you don't want to do that?
I just think you're being optimistic, but all right, absolutely, I'd love to if we have that. If we have that luxury,
Oh,
I think it's going to take. I think it's going to be a lot of work to get there. But if you're more optimistic than I am, I know you don't want to lose that performative aspect. So
yeah.
I'd
Well,
to bring it to life on on the show, absolutely.
okay.
We can always do it. Here's what we submitted, and do the do the performance show. It's not bound by time at that point.
You know what? I mean, yeah, I guess that's a good point. Regardless, let's do a performance show, whether it's before or after.
Okay,
Yeah.
that sounds good.
Yeah, I like that.
So one thing you mentioned though is that we're going to be doing this because we're going to do the Epitaph rewrite off screen essentially.
Yeah.
You think you're going to be doing both rewrites concurrently?
Well, look, I'm going to try to have some time. I'm going to make some time for Epitaph. Here's the thing. Well, let me just finish that thought. Epitaph is going to be a back burner thing for now because I don't even know when the next screenplay competition at Stage 32 is going to come around that fits for Epitaph. But secondly, the other thought I have is that a lot of my writing is mental, right? Like sitting down and typing it out is just like, it's the mechanics of writing, but it's not all of writing, right? It's just a way for me to get what's in my brain onto a piece of paper so that someone else can read it. Mm-hmm. That's all that is. Does that make sense?
Yeah. No,
Yeah.
You've mentioned many times before.
Yeah. So even though I'm not going to have the time to like write in the traditional sense for Epitaph, I'm always thinking about it. I'm always, inspiration will strike me at weird times and I'll be like, oh yes, that's how I can get around this thing now that Long has been removed from the screenplay, from the story, right? Yeah. It's just people in Epitaph going about their lives. You got, the school marm. She's like teaching. Oh, it's going to be great.
I made it about the meteor. That was my take on it.
You want to be yeah, it's just a meteor flying around by the planets, different planets.
Yep.
It's the adventures of the meteor.
In the last, couple minutes, it crashes. All hell breaks out and credits roll.
So,
for the conclusion,
sidebar, friend of mine who has a production company and is actually like selling shows and is repped and all of that. He likes the screenplay, but he's able to sell series to different networks, right? And he called me up there. He's like, René, would you be interested in converting Epitaph into a series, but remove the supernatural stuff? And I was like, yeah, because I'm Mercenary now, Brian. I'm Mercenary. And it, to me, it's still like a cool, very like accessible story. You got Chinese railroad, ex-railroad workers who are Chinese, bandits now, right? Being chased by the law, and they have this like history, and it's like, several seasons of just like eluding the marshal, or maybe, some episodes where there's like a bounty hunter that is also chasing Long, and then the marshal is so like hell-bent on his revenge or whatever you want to call it, that he's interfering with the bounty hunter. Like there are a lot of ways, a lot of things you could do with this. And then if it has to turn supernatural, it can, like season 3, like, oh, ratings are like starting to take a nosedive. It's now about zombies and they meet an epitaph, right? It's like, whoa, they just like revitalize this. It becomes like the Wild Wild West, season 4, it's like aliens. You know what I mean?
So when do we write the pilot? What's going on here? Where's the teleplay?
Well, I mean, that's the thing, right? Like, I had this conversation with him the other day. I'm like, look, happy to convert. I just don't know how to write for TV. And he's like, that can be taught. I'll just, like, send you, like, instructions on how to do that. It's, yeah, exactly. He's like, that's nothing. Like, as soon as if you have ideas, if you have stories, then that's all we need. And I'm like, right. Yeah, okay, that's fine. So I'm gonna follow up on that in a couple of days. I want him to enjoy the holidays before I hit him up.
Right.
So
that'd be fun to do.
Yeah. That's what I'm saying, man.
The good news about things like that, since we're in prestige television, that means it's probably 10 episodes. It's not like it's 24 episodes anymore.
Right.
You just have to create a 10 40-minute, episode.
That's nothing.
Saying. Done.
Yeah. Season 5, we'll have like clip episodes. We'll have a musical episode, once we start like running out of ideas.
You have the spin-off,
Oh yeah. It'll just be Bao, right? And it'll be like a silent picture, with the piano player. Dun, 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 and then anytime someone has to talk, we just put the little card on the screen. It'll be black and white. It'll be funny.
Well, the crossover events.
Yeah, of course.
Plus, television.
What?
Always watching television. So
I know. Exactly.
That's okay. I watch enough for both of us.
There you go. You can tell me how well it's doing. Okay, so I think we have a plan. At least 2 weeks. For the next 2 weeks, we have a plan.
Yeah. So are we going to talk about Epitaph and, taking the sniper rifle out and what we would do? Because I did actually, reread the script and had thoughts on that script. Or leave it for now and revisit that later.
Well, okay. How about this? Are there a lot of notes, Brian?
A decent amount.
What?
Listening to your beat.
Oh, I know. I was just like tapping my earphones because of the battery life on the earphones, Brian. That's why.
Okay. Bring them back to life. It's a decent amount. A lot of it is just listing off the different characters as I kind of went through and tried to think of it as if it was not yours and mine.
Yeah.
But if it was someone else's, what would I do? And I had the assignment to cut out 30 pages. What would I do? Heartless.
Yeah.
And just take an axe to it. That's kind of how I approached it. So
I'll tell you what. Let's do this. I'm gonna open up a text pad thing here. Go ahead.
So, like I said, I really took the Kill Your Darlings seriously on this one to try and get it to 9. And I feel like there are some smaller roles that can be omitted, or some incidents that are omitted even. My concern, to be frank about this is that if we remove too much, I don't want to take like the texture away. If
Yeah.
we just 5 characters, how exciting is it really going to be? So
Right.
you have to have some of that. The smaller comedic moments, smaller payoffs. I don't really think it's a good idea to remove the charm from the script just to hit an arbitrary page number. But I think that there are some characters that, as I read through it again with the critical eye, I didn't find quite as impactful. So I think that, as I was going through it, I didn't see there be a problem removing 10 to 15 pages, quite honestly. But it's kind of like you said, to do so is probably going to take a rewrite. Like some of it is, it's like if you take out Chief, and you take out this thing, and you take out what's his name, Petrov, then you've got some plot elements that tie into, this event that happens, or this series of events, that create everything else. So it's almost like it takes out some of that subtlety and says, you have to kind of concentrate on, no, this is the one thing that happened, and there were results from that. So I think it removes a little bit of the complexity from the script. So that's the trade-off, and that's where I was like, well, I don't have to rewrite it right now with him. I'm just going to say, here are the characters I found at least the most compelling, the ones I'm like on the fence with, and then they're the ones who are kind of like the least compelling. And by most compelling, I attributed that to the ones who are either very interesting characters written, or they provide the dramatic impulse, for the script. As an example, when we talked about it last time, you mentioned like Bao, just to mess with me. Maybe not. And I think we even talked about possibly Tom. But then when you go back and reread this thing, I mean, Tom is there punching against Everett and punching against Long in such ways it's like there's no way you can't. I know. Anyone else. He has to be there, and he's great because you really understand where these people come from as a result of it. I mean, it's true character building because of him. So that's how I looked at it. So in terms of like the list of people to keep, I have Long, Bao, I still have Sam because I feel like he's an interesting chaos agent. He's one of those, he's kind of an unknown. He's not really that much in the script, but he does move things along in a way, especially towards the end, where he still wants the money, in ways that kind of help propel the rest of the story. Then I still have, of course, Everett and Tom, Sally, Mortimer, Maggie and Eli, Doc Murphy, Scarface, even though he's not much in there, just as a role that's necessary. Father Espinoza, Jeb, and Small Girl. That's it. So I've reduced it quite a bit. At least the first look at it. The ones I was on the fence with that I found interesting, but I don't know if they're really endemic to the script itself. Or Patrick, even though he's got probably my favorite scene in the movie, with Plain Jane. So Patrick and Plain Jane are kind of the, when you look at it, there's a lot of setup to Patrick and Plain Jane.
Yeah.
Or the one joke, the great joke that is probably like the visual.
Yeah.
So, but is it worth all the setup? I don't know. That's why I'm on the fence with this one. And Rebecca, I didn't really feel like she was that intrinsic to it. I know she motivates Tom, but I didn't find her that interesting. And Lieutenant Jones, I felt like that could just be kind of someone unnamed to kind of help move that part of the action along. But him as a character, I didn't really care too much about him. So they're the ones who are on the fence for me. You know what? Did I mention? I did mention Sally. Okay. So my remove list is fairly extensive. So here we go. Here's the sniper rifle. Sarah and Jimmy. Zeke, where I thought Zeke could be merged into Sally, because I found like she was much more interesting, much more memorable. I loved her backstory. I love kind of everything about her, and Zeke is there too, like as the husband. But I just felt like she's so cool. She could carry. As I was reading through it, I was like rewriting in my head whenever he was talking, and for the most part, I think it could be worked out. But it's going to be a major rewrite.
So let me just jump in here. It sounds like, I mean, your suggestions. I mean, they all sound valid just on their face. However, in terms of like Zeke and Sally, what it sounds like is, let's give Zeke's lines to Sally, and that doesn't sound like reducing pages.
Yeah, I felt like there's some there where they're all in it together that could have been reduced because he's not taking part in it as well. So it's not a major reduction. He doesn't have a whole heck of lot of lines anyway.
This is, yeah. So this is the larger point is that, I thought about, okay, well, yeah, I could cut out, like, let's say the prospectors, right? But they have, I don't know, like as far as like dialogue goes, they have maybe a page, if that,
Yeah.
of dialogue. But we would still, if we're preserving the various things that could have caused this phenomenon in Epitaph, you would still need prospectors, right? And maybe they would go back to prospector 1, prospector 2, if they have any lines at all.
Yeah.
And I'm just, I just started to think, well, it's what kind of, and maybe the prospectors is a bad example, but
No, it's
what,
a good.
well, it's a good example because they're so minimal that I could cut their lines and I would be okay with it, right? It's not a structural issue. But I thought about absorbing Zeke into Sally, but then I thought, well, someone still has to explain the bank job, right? Like Zeke's dialogue would still have to be there, regardless. So, we're not really saving pages, is the way I was looking at it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Make a valid point, but again, as I was reading through it, I could see where one or the other worked, and so you're losing a little bit here, a little bit here, a little bit there, and you're probably going to lose a page because of Zeke. It's not a whole lot, Same with Bill and Bud. There's not a lot there, but I think if you removed, quite honestly, the profit subsection of this, and that means the part of the part of the setup in terms of what happens at the vault, and that just becomes minimized, and you see something happening to these prospectors as a result of meteorite, if you still want it, that infects people. I think that could be conveyed in action rather than having any of this dialogue at all. It's just, to me, it was like it was there. It wasn't that exciting. I know at some point you have to like trim. I don't think we're gonna be able to just trim pages. I really didn't like 17 through 31. Perfect. You know what I mean? It's like you can't just do that. So it's almost like you have to piecemeal. You have to take off I don't think Bill and Bud are that compelling. Boom, they're out. Profit, never really, I felt like the story kind of stopped whenever we left one of the main characters, and we've got a lot of juicy main characters here, main being, like the ones that are not just not just Long and Everett and maybe Tom, I guess would be your kind of main ones who talk. But like if a little bit more is given to Sally and even these other ones I said to keep, like Maggie, it's just there to help kind of propel things. She's not like a main character. She's just one who has to be there to move the interesting part of the plot forward to me, which is whenever we're with Everett or Long, So whenever we kind of went away from both of those main guys into like the prospect or even Patrick and Plain Jane, I was like, oh, I want to get back to these main guys who I'm kind of invested in. So, yeah, I know what you're saying. It's not going to be major. It's just going to be like, if we remove, 16 characters, how many pages do we get out of that? Maybe 9 or 10. I don't know. But if we have to change out, removing the prospecting subplot from there, the whole thing with profit and not just lines, but that whole setup, and it's just kind of alluded to in a couple lines of action, that's going to help. just from a page standpoint. But that's why I told you I was thinking, 10, 15 pages is something that I think makes sense for the script. I just don't know if getting it down to 90 is even feasible, to be honest with you. I
Well, this
mean,
is why, while, I don't want you to feel like I'm just discarding what you're saying out of hand, but I also took the time to consider like, okay, well, yeah, I could get rid of this, I could get rid of that. I don't think cutting is going to work. Like, I think it has to be from the ground up restructured to be a 90-page screenplay. If that makes sense. Can you still hear me?
I can hear you. I'm trying to process what that means. From the ground up, it needs to be 90 pages. Like you start over.
Well, almost essentially that. Maybe not specifically that, but you know, we have a we have the guts of the story, the intrinsic part, the thing that makes it, the thing that people are, that audiences are going to want to watch the movie for, right? But maybe it doesn't have all of the and I'm just spitballing at this point, but maybe we don't, maybe it is just the meteor. Maybe there's nothing else, like there's no Indian bandit, right, who attacks Petrov, right?
Yep.
Like we can just have these people as kind of like as texture, right? Like, oh yeah, maybe someone talks about an Indian bandit, and maybe that's why people can't leave the city, right? Because it's dangerous out there.
Right.
Yeah, something like that. I don't know. Maybe that's why we don't need the military to come in anymore.
Yeah, and I was
We
thinking
can,
about the same thing. If we lost Fort Wrath, and everything that happened there, and the lessons that they learned there happened with the main cast, because I mean, you are learning some things in terms of behavior, how to kill them. You know, that's kind of the main point of it. But of course, when you do something like that, there's a sacrifice. That sacrifice of that extra layer of they're being attacked by zombies, and now these soldiers are just like being,
yeah,
they're attacking the city as well.
right.
That's like a brutal point that I really enjoyed in the script that would be
Yeah.
lost. And not lost, I guess. It could be conveyed, but I don't think it'd be as poignant.
Well, yeah. I mean, when you look at movies like, let's say, Aliens, which I saw again recently, one of my favorite movies ever, like across all genres.
Yeah.
It's like, they get their asses handed to them, the soldiers, and then they're able to hole up, and they have a safe place, right? And it gives the audience a sense of like, okay, they've got a fighting chance, or they're talking about getting rescued in like 14 days or whatever it is. They just have to last that long. What happens? They have now this timer put on their heads because the nuclear reactor has been ruptured, and now they have 4 hours. Now you've added this extra sense of pressure, and it's palpable, right? So I like I like having that for this movie as well, because you don't want the in a survival movie, you don't want the characters to get too comfortable. You always want to put their lives at risk, right?
Yeah.
Keep the tension going. Anyway, and so like we could still have the soldiers and not have the fort. Like the soldiers just show up, but then then it's like, how did they even know, right? Like, right? Like, I don't want the audience to ever feel like they have to stop and question or like fill in the blanks themselves,
Yeah.
because then people leave the theater having watched different movies, and that just sucks, in my opinion.
I mean, unless you're trying to be intentional about it and you don't want them to be spoon fed something. But in this case, you're talking about a plot point, you know,
Yeah.
that's kind of important. So yeah, I mean, but I'm saying maybe there's a way to do it where you're not getting to know was it the general or what's his? I can't remember his name anymore.
Jeb.
Jeb, yeah, Jebediah. By name necessarily. Maybe it's something else. Maybe the scene at Mortimer's is still there, or the dock is still there. Where you're getting the soldiers introduced, or maybe it's a higher ranking officer that's in there as well, instead of Scarface or something. But I don't know. Like you're saying, it's a major. This is a major rewrite because we're talking about cutting plot points, and we're that's the only way I can see it happening. And
Yeah.
you have a pretty large cast, of
Well,
people. Well, I think it's a large cast because, you know, yeah, I think it is. I mean, we're already at, what they're 16, 14, 35 characters that are named, and I probably missed a couple because, I was really only concentrating on kind of like the ones who had specific lines in here. That's a decent amount of people to get to know, in 90 to 120 minutes.
yeah, I was watching Tombstone the other day, and I've never read the script, mind you. So, I mean, it's very possible that these characters are just called Mayor or whatever, right? But I have to imagine, the fact that the mayor, has lines throughout the movie, like up until the end, that it was like Mayor Dixon or something like that, right? But I was trying to like mentally process like how many characters are introduced in just like the first act that there's like that we that are memorable to us, and that we are expected to remember, for who knows how long they're going to be in the movie.
Yeah.
And so I'm not afraid of having a large list of named characters.
Okay. Well, at the beginning you said you were going to be, the sniper who's going to take the, take
Well,
the gun.
this is
I'm trying. That's what I'm trying to do. It's not that. Understand, this is not because I think it's going to be a better script, and I don't think it's going to be a more polished script. I just think it's going to be a shorter script. I think we've already got a script that is that the common person could watch this film and enjoy it and understand it. But if your driving apparatus is just to get it down to 90 pages, that's what I tasked myself with, how to do it.
Well, I understand. I just think that there's a goal of reducing to 90 pages, and I think that the process you're taking is, well, if I remove characters, it will reduce it to 90 pages. And okay, fine. Plot points aside, the fact that you've brought up that it's a large cast of named characters, I just don't find that compelling on its own, right? So I guess that's the only point I'm trying to make is that let's not look at a long list of characters and just assume that, well, if we chop out half of that, the script will necessarily get reduced. Like, let's not be afraid of a long list of characters is all I'm getting at.
Okay. Well, if that's not where I was hoping you would get fixated, it was more on these are the ones I'm finding compelling, and these are the ones that I'm not. And so when I'm saying I don't find Sarah and Jimmy compelling, I don't think that their story is that important to the plot. I think it can be done just fine without them. I think that the train robbery and anything that happens afterwards works just fine without them. I think they're just a texture that's there, and at 120 pages or 119 pages works fine. So, I'm not trying to get fixated on the number of characters necessarily, but I do feel like anytime we are removed from the heart of the story, that is a point that we can fixate on to try and do the trimming. Whether that's a character, or whether that's a complete situation, whether that's a location, whatever it is, I feel like that's where the opportunity lies to reduce it. If that again is our point, is to get it down, that's where I would do it.
Okay.
with the exception of the flashbacks. When I read those again, surprisingly, I was like, you know what? They still kind of read a little bit long. If one page is roughly a minute, the first one is like 6 pages, 6 minutes. The second one is, I think, 4, and I felt like both of them went on a little bit too long. So I feel like that is a place where you could probably cut a few pages without losing a whole lot. Maybe the first one, the first one with Long and Bao, and then transitioning over to the train, maybe a little less time with Long and Bao, would still kind of get that point across about their relationship and kind of what happened as a result of the situation. I think it could be trimmed, but those are like the two specific areas I felt like I didn't want to be removed from the main plot too long, but I know how important those are, especially because we're seeing different different perspectives,
Yeah.
kind of within the same flashback. So, if each of those was like three pages, then I think that would help a little bit with just the momentum of the story. Not necessarily nothing really to do with the page count. I just felt like it, especially the first one, pulled me out a little bit because it was just so long.
Okay.
But that's it on Epitaph. I mean, I can share with you my specific notes afterwards. You can take a look at them, reconsider it. But again, if we're going to be concentrating on Karina for now, this might just have to gestate for a month, until we can get back to it.
Yeah. I mean, who knows how much like mind share I'm going to be able to devote to Epitaph. It's going to just have to be something that fills in gaps for now. Like, just like while I'm in the shower or while I'm cooking or something like that, until probably after February at least, right?
Yeah. It might just sit there and subconscious a little bit,
Unless I feel particularly inspired, to put pen to paper.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's your process, man. That's up to you. But if we need to concentrate on Karina, that's fine.
I mean, it just makes sense to me, just because I feel like that wouldn't require a tremendous rewrite. Like, it's not, it's all character driven, right? It's not like plot driven necessarily. So I think that's going to be so much easier to compress.
I mean, it's been a couple of years, I think, since I've even read that.
Yeah.
But if my memory serves, I think you're right. I think it's dialogue that we can trim a little bit here, a little bit there, and
I mean, if we think of like the first like 6 pages, right, where it's Danny's history of just like failed relationships, intercut with Karina's like the progression of her musical career and falling in love and getting married, right? Like, you don't need, the audience doesn't even know what the hell they're watching, right? Like, who's the main character here? I mean, I think it's written in such a way that people will know, okay, we're following the guy's life because, we're getting more time with him, but is that necessary? Right? Like maybe we immediately are just with Danny on Valentine's Day, and we just, through his inner monologue, we just know, okay, this guy has not been lucky in love, and now he's a curmudgeon.
yeah, it kind of could be envisioned as a title sequence, though.
Of course it is. Of course. I envision that as well. Like, starring, music by, blah blah blah. Like, you're not really paying attention to the movie, right? But we're talking about page counts or a page count, so I think that can go, right? Like, I'm already seeing things that I feel like were, I don't want to say, the word that comes to mind is indulgent. But I don't consider them indulgent. I thought I was just creating little pockets of, like helping the filmmakers, like giving them a foundation to put things in, is how I saw it. But if we're talking about winning a screenplay, then screw it. 90 pages. Get rid of that. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm cool with that. Jump in. But I think you're right. It probably will be easier to cut that one.
Oh, yeah. A lot easier. So much easier. All dialogue, bro. It's all dialogue.
I will say you're a little more optimistic than me, but maybe you're right. Maybe I'm just, it's been a while. And I'm in Epitaph world where it's not so easy.
Well, I mean, that's the thing. When it's plot-driven, it's like things have to be logical. Like things have to make sense, right? Because, you are trying to explain, especially something that's like sci-fi, you have to explain it to the audience so that they are with you. If you lose them along the way, they're never going to get back on. Once they're derailed, it's it. That's it. It's over. Now they're just watching things happen in front of them and they're not with the rest of the audience, right? So that's why once again, it just has to be rewritten for 90 pages is why I keep defaulting to that. Anyway, yeah, Karina, I really think it's going to be a lot easier. We're with Danny the entire time. We, by the end of it, we will have it's almost claustrophobic, right? It's easy to cut that down. Do we need to know every little thing and listen to him have conversations with publicists and stuff like that? No.
All right.
Picking up his friends from the airport and making little funny jokes about the industry. That can go.
We'll take
and it'll be a nice, bland, prototypical rom-com,
I'd probably watch it.
Of course.
I like rom-coms.
Yeah.
Even if I know I always know how it's going to end.
Yeah. Okay. This one, you're not going to know, though, Brian.
Well, I will. I'm just saying.
Well, you will, because the studio will be like, no, René, make it a happy ending. Make them kiss at the end.
Well, you'll have your UK distribution and your US distribution.
Oh, the UK is all realistic?
Right.
Yeah. It's dreary.
COVID hits. Everyone dies.
Exactly. Yeah. Or he'll die in her arms, or she'll die in his arms, or something like that.
Good times.
Yeah. All right. So I think we have our marching orders. Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to put the current. Okay. Let's back up a little bit. So the current version of Karina that I have has a little bit of the audio play.
Really?
In it.
Okay.
So I'm going to give you the version before that, because that's the one that is the most complete.
Okay. So, and you're going to be working off the same script?
Yeah. And then I'm going to put that, the working script on the website at letswritethismovie.com, everybody. In fact, maybe I should just pull that up like I used to do. Let's not be lazy.
Oh, where's last?
What?
Last episode's not on there.
Oh, of course not. And a lot of the blog posts are broken because I switched servers.
Oh.
And for some reason, in the migration of the data, the YouTube embed links or URLs or whatever, they broke. And so a lot of the videos don't play. I don't know if I fixed them all, but I may still need to fix a few.
Okay.
In any event, I will create a blog post, put the script there. Once again, the website is letswritethismovie.com. Anyone who's watching this can read that script, and you can provide some feedback. And really, that's it. That's, I think, all I have to say.
So, dude, we were up to 136 pages at one point?
Oh, yeah.
You remember that? Wow.
Oh, yeah, and I was at the end. We finished it, and I was like, all right, now it's time to reduce. And I was just, reducing, every day I'd chop out stuff. Oh, God. I think I would like text you and say, "Hey, I'm down to 130. Just 10 more pages. Let's do it."
Wow, I forgot about that though. Wow, interesting.
So, and that's it. So
Episodes after we hit 120,
yeah,
it keeps growing.
yeah.
We'll wrap up a few small points here, plot points.
So, and so that's why I think it's really difficult for me now because you have to imagine it was 136 and I felt like that was what I needed to write initially, right? For the movie. And so what we have now is a compressed version of what I thought was necessary to write to tell the story I wanted to tell. And now we have to compress that even more. Like that doesn't make sense to me.
Or not. You might need a 400-page teleplay at some point.
You mean episodic?
Episodic, yeah. You might need the full 100 pages. So
yeah, exactly. Precisely.
Well, that's interesting. Hopefully something comes of it, and if not, then we'll do our 90-page version.
What are we talking about now?
Hopefully that'd be cool if something happens with it in terms of a TV series.
Oh, yeah. I mean, we'll see. See. I mean, it's all just a conversation at this point.
Right.
All right, Brian. Well, I think we know what we want to do. Let's. I'm going to send you that thing tonight, hopefully tonight, and we'll get going from there.
Sounds
Is
good.
there anything else you want to say before we sign off?
Yep, sounds good. I'm excited about the next 5 weeks. Is going to be pretty interesting.
Wow, 5 weeks. 5 weeks. All right. In that case, I got nothing else. I already showed the website, so we'll see you in the next episode, everybody.
Peace.
Double peace.
Double peace.